Hey guys, welcome back to Sweet Red Poppy. I'm Kimberly, and on today's episode, I'm teaching you all about glass etching. Now, if you've ever wanted to etch glass, but you've been a little bit afraid to do it, today is the day to jump right into this project because I have worked through all of my tips and tricks, and I'm just going to be sharing everything with you today. So here's an example of one of the things that I made. This is a cute little wine glass that I've etched, and I've also used it for my craft room organization. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about glass etching, and I'm also going to help you troubleshoot some of the problems that you might have. For this tutorial, you will need Armour Etch glass etching cream, a small paintbrush, scraper, a stencil, scissors, painter's tape, a pair of gloves, glass, transfer tape, alcohol, and a weeding tool. First off, you want to make sure that you're using a compatible glass base. Now this is really important because this type of etching cream will not etch on Pyrex, so you don't want to use Pyrex, but what I do recommend is using a cheaper glass, and the best place to find this is at the dollar store. So I hit the dollar store and I got tons of different glasses and they work perfectly. I also went to Joann and found some of these cute organization jars, and those work really well as well. Something to keep in mind is that this project works really well on small pieces of glass. If you try to do a really large surface, it's probably not going to give you really great results. So you'll want to stick to something kind of small like this. Another thing to keep in mind is that this cream only works on an uncoated bare surface. So if you're using glass, it needs to be bare without any coatings on top of it. Something to keep in mind is this is an acid, so it's actually going to be etching away at your glass. You're not putting on a stencil or painting something, you're actually removing the top layer of the glass. So the projects that you create with this method will be dishwasher safe, which is definitely the upside to this project. You don't have to worry about your vinyl peeling off in the dishwasher. Let's go ahead and get started on our glass etching project. To begin, you'll want to clean your glass with rubbing alcohol. What that will do is remove any residue that might be on the glass, making sure that both your stencil and your etching cream will be firmly adhered to the glass and they can both do their job. So I'm going to open this up and take a paper towel and just clean the front where I'm applying that stencil. Once you've cleaned it, then you want to make sure that you dry it completely. That way your stencil doesn't slip when you put it on. It's important to use a pair of gloves when you're working on this project for two different reasons. First off, it will protect the glass from getting any oils off of your hands, and it will also keep your hands safe from the acid that you're using. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on, and then I'm going to apply my vinyl. You want to make sure that both the glass and the stencil are at room temperature before you begin this process for the very best results. I went ahead and I pre-cut my stencil out on my Cricut. What you want to do is remove the negative from your design. That way you're going to be etching those letters onto your glass. So it might seem a little bit counterintuitive because you're removing the stuff that you normally leave behind. So I just put some transfer tape on here. So right now I'm just burnishing the vinyl. That way it will stick to my transfer tape and I can put it onto the glass. When you're placing the vinyl, make sure that you place it in the middle and that it's completely centered. If you don't like where you put it, you can lift it back up and replace it. Go ahead and peel away the transfer tape. At this point, you're going to use some painter's tape, and what you want to do is cover any of the edges that might come in contact with the etching cream. You also want to think about when you're washing this, where is your etching cream going to be flowing? Because I have this little bit of glass that's exposed right here, and it could create like a ghosting effect if I were to get some etching cream on this while I'm washing it off. So I'm going to go ahead and cover that just to make sure. I'm going to go over my design and just make sure that I don't have any air bubbles that are near my letters. If you do have an air bubble near your letter, it's possible that your etching cream could just seep right under that letter and you won't get a crisp design. At this point, I like to lift my glass up towards the light and just inspect my design. Make sure there's not any debris, not any hair that's stuck underneath there, because those are things that could really affect your design. So it looks like it's good to go. So now I'm going to get my etching cream out. You want to make sure that you've shaken your etching cream because it can have some settling. So I'm gonna make sure it's nice and mixed. The kind of etching cream that I'm using today is Armour Etch. You can find it on Amazon. I found mine at Joann, and it gives me the best results out of all of the etching creams that I've tried. You want to apply a layer of cream, making sure that you're not getting any of the cream outside of the vinyl. And I like to dab it on instead of brushing it on, and the reason why is if you brush it on, you might end up with brush strokes, and you really want it to just be a clean, crisp design. So dab on a good amount until your design is completely covered. For the very best results, I like to use a paintbrush instead of a foam brush. And the reason for that is I'm able to move and swirl my etching cream around, and I can really get into all of those nooks and crannies of my letters, where with a foam brush, I wouldn't be able to do that. Once the area has been fully covered, brush the etching cream around the design. You want to go in different directions. And what this does is it exposes the glass to the etching cream over and over so that it's able to create a deeper etch. You just want to go back and forth in a different direction each time, making sure that you're always keeping everything covered up with etching cream. Now the directions say to leave this on for about 3 minutes. I like to leave it on closer to between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on the type of glass that I'm etching. One thing to keep in mind while you're doing this is that leaving your etching cream on for too long can actually cause some bad results, because it could affect the integrity of your vinyl and it could eat through your vinyl. So you don't want to leave it on for too long, but you do want to leave it on for about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to set this one aside and grab one that I worked on a little bit earlier that's had enough time to completely etch. So what you want to do is face this downwards so that the glass is completely covered, and I'm going to rinse it under running water. Now normally I would use my kitchen sink or something with a little more water pressure, but just to show you, I'm using a jug. So I'm placing this downward, I'm gonna run some water over it, and I will usually take my brush just to kind of break up all the etching cream. So I'm just using my brush to kind of wipe away all of this etching cream. And you can use a paper towel to get rid of the rest. What I like to do before taking the stencil off is just check to make sure that it has etched completely and that I don't need to go back and etch more. So you can hold it up to the light and you can see whether or not it's been etched. So this looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove my stencil and my tape, and I'll rinse it once more after this. You'll have some little vinyl letters left over, and that's okay, you can just remove those. So I'm just using my weeding tool again to remove these leftover letters. And I'm gonna go over this design with water one more time. You want to dry your design completely, and then you'll be able to see how well your etching cream worked. So here's what my finished design looked like. It's a little hard to see without anything in it, so I just grabbed a piece of paper just to throw in there. And now you can see the design. I love how this little jar turned out. It's so cute, and now I can organize all of my crafting supplies. I even made a few little wine glasses for some of my friends, and it looks so cute. Such a fun way to personalize your glass products. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to Sweet Red Poppy. And if you have any questions about glass etching, I've linked in the description to my blog post that covers everything about glass etching, where I go into even more detail. I'll see you guys next week.